Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Extra Point Podcast. I am Andrew Goldberg, and as always, I am joined by Zachary Benau and Adam Levin, fellow digital content programmers for Fox Sports. I cover the NFC East, Zach covers the NFC West, and Adam covers the NFC North. Instead of doing a full show like we normally do, we're going to do a quick segment by NFL divisions, and now we will cover the NFC West with Zach. Zach, what is the latest news on the NFC West?
Latest on NFC West been pretty exciting. Arizona Cardinals restructure Larry Fitzgerald deal. Life is good in Arizona right now. They're getting Carson Palmer back from injury. They restructured the Arizona deal. They're re-signing some offensive linemen. They got some money to work with. They're actually even talking about restructuring Carson Palmer's deal, even though he has yet to even play a whole game through his new deal. As you remember, last year he tore his ACL halfway through his first game of the new deal. So they have some money to work with. They're trying to restructure, but they plan to be big players in free agency. The Rams, oh man, it's all Sam Bradford all the time. Are they going to trade Sam Bradford? Are they just going to release him? Is he going to be the starting quarterback? They got a coach they're really excited about.
But the rumors of Sam Bradford are nonstop every day. It's gone from the Rams to the Bills to he has no interest. So it's really up in the air there. You know, quarterback or how they're going to play that out over there. Seahawks obviously they haven't made many moves since the Super Bowl. They're still kind of recovering from that overall. Marshawn Lynch, that's been the main story over there. Is he retiring? He's not retiring. Does he have a new contract in place? Does he not have a new contract in place? Main story there. And also Russell Wilson's deal. He's on the last year of his contract. They're talking about a full, which is unheard of in the NFL money, which will help the Seahawks. There's also the Legion of Beat up at the surgery a couple of press conference at the combine. They're still waiting. What they want to do is him, Michael Crabbe, and figure out what they want to do. Justice Smith, Mullen retirement, and then they got the two starting quarterbacks, both free agents, Chris Culver and Parrish Cox. So they definitely have some big decisions on the horizon, and then drafting a potential wide receiver in the first round is a big question mark for them. So that's the main news with them since the Super Bowl.
Zach, speaking about the San Francisco 49ers, what's the tenor of the market there regarding Jim Tomsula? I mean, obviously everyone is disappointed Harbaugh left because he's an elite coach, and coaches like that don't grow on trees. But is the fan base confident in Tomsula, or are they skeptical and worried?
No, the fan base is very skeptical. The fan base is very worried. Most people, obviously people know Harbaugh had the problem with upper management, but they loved him. Came into the 49ers system 3 years ago, and they were a team, and he took them to 3 straight NFC championships and 1 Super Bowl, and a few yards away from winning a Super Bowl. I don't really understand why they love him. And when they replaced him with Tomsula, it was a little frustrating. His first press conference was a complete disaster. He couldn't talk, he couldn't speak. So I think fans are extremely worried. The Niners kept everybody from within the organization. Their quarterback coach, where Kaepernick struggled last year, is now the offensive coordinator. So there's a lot of hesitancy and a lot of skepticism around the whole 49er coaching staff, not just Tomsula.
Zach, let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals. They re-signed Larry Fitzgerald to a 2-year deal, and the contract figures didn't come out yet, I don't think. Either way, I think he should be a productive player going down the line. Ted Ginn Jr. was cut. So what are the Cardinals doing in terms of off-season moves? Are they going to give Carson Palmer more weapons? And what's an update on Carson Palmer?
Well, Carson Palmer is ahead of schedule. He's off back-to-back, his second torn ACL, but everyone says he's looking great. He's going to be ready for possibly minicamp, definitely ready for training camp. So he's looking good. They did get rid of Ted Ginn. I think they're counting on bigger numbers out of Fitzgerald. If you look at Fitzgerald's numbers the last couple of years, they're much better with Palmer starting as opposed to everybody else. So I think they're expecting him to go back into that wide receiver number 1 role. As far as free agents, they are looking at wide receivers more so in the draft, I would say, than free agency. They have their eyes just like on everybody else. If people will fall to them, the big guys, Amari Cooper, Kevin White, and that's what I think they might target. Otherwise, you might see a late round target. Their free agency, they're more looking towards running backs. I don't think they have complete faith in Ellington. He was injured a lot of last year, and he didn't produce as they expected. So I think you're going to see them more make a run at a starting running back as opposed to a wide receiver in the free agent market.
Zach, I wanted to ask you about the Rams. In my opinion, I think the Rams need to move off of Sam Bradford. I think he's proven to be injury prone, and I think their problems have been is they're a talented group that's had no quarterback to lead them, and I think it's why they've been, a tough out 6-10 and 7-9 team, but still 6-10 and 7-9. So a two-parter here. Number one, what's the organization saying about keeping him, about going in the draft, trying to get somebody else? And then I want you to give me your own opinion about what you think the Rams should do. Should they keep Sam Bradford, or should they just move on?
The organization has been real wishy-washy about Sam Bradford. It came out that, they were going to release him or they needed to restructure because the deal wasn't working. And then, the day later, he is the quarterback, and Jeff Fisher announced it. And then the very next day after that, it comes out that he's seeking a trade and the agent doesn't want him there. So the organization, I think, is not really sure. I think, honestly, they're asking too much of him. The organization wants a second-round pick of him, and they're basing it on the fact that Sam Bradford was a first-round pick. But he has torn his in the same knee 2 years in a row, and, people don't know what they're getting, so they're not going to get a second-round pick for Sam Bradford. So they're asking him too much. My personal opinion is I think it's time to move on. I think they've given it a good shot with him. They've given it a good run. He hasn't shown the progression that you would like to see over quarterback. And injuries, of course, are a factor of that. But if he continues to get injured, he might just be an injury-prone quarterback. So I think they'll look at the draft. Obviously, those two marquee guys, Mariota and Winston, will not be there. But look at like a Brett Hundley or something, second, third round. I think that's what they're going to go and have their new quarterback coach, Chris Blakey, start to develop them from the very beginning.
All right, last one for me. Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, the talk is about Marshawn Lynch and the contracts of him and Russell Wilson. You kind of alluded to it in the open before we started bombarding you with questions. Marshawn Lynch, it was rumored that he had a deal in place, but then it really wasn't. I mean, what's the mood around in terms of media members? Do they think there's actually a deal there? And also, do they have any idea which way he's leaning in terms of retiring or taking a contract?
GM John Schneider said he would not be surprised if Marshawn Lynch is retiring. And then Pete Carroll comes out and says, I doubt Marshawn Lynch is going to retire. So I'm not sure they really know. Obviously, Marshawn Lynch doesn't speak to the media, so no one can really get an idea of what he's thinking or what's going on in his mind. It's a lot of money they're offering him, though. It's not like a chump change contract. They're trying to give him a 2-year deal, and for a running back, upwards in the $20 million range. So if I had a hunch, I think he'll be back next year. It's a lot of money to leave on the table, and then maybe he doesn't come back for the second year. But I'm not sure management really knows, and I think, this just goes in the whole Marshawn Lynch thinking. No one really knows what he's thinking, and it's hard to get a read on the guy. So he will come out eventually and say it. I know the Seahawks would like to have an idea at least before the draft so they know whether to go after a running back or not. But with Marshawn Lynch, you just never know when you're actually going to get that answer.
Last question for me, and last question to wrap up the NFC West segment here. The Cardinals, you had stated earlier they want to go after a running back. Obviously, being the NFC North guy here, and the Vikings being one of my teams, I know that Adrian Peterson has a number of suitors. How interested are the Cardinals in Adrian Peterson? Or
I think
let's say.
DeMarco Murray, I think, is going to be too expensive for them. Adrian Peterson, if they can make a trade, Adrian Peterson's dad came out today and was like, the Cardinals are on a list of 3 teams Peterson's willing to be traded to. The Cardinals had a lot of interest in Adrian Peterson back in the draft when Peterson was coming out of Oklahoma. So they do have some interest there, and I think they would like, be a nice pair with Ellington and be a couple power backs. But I don't think they're willing to give up too much for him just with the risk and the money situation. So I think Adrian Peterson would be on their radar, but I don't think they want to give up more than a 4th, 5th round pick for him.
All right, and thank you very much to Zach. That's it for the NFC West, and we will be back later.